They are the quintessential reality TV family. For over a decade, Trent and Amber Johnston have opened their doors, inviting millions into their unique, chaotic, and often heartwarming world. We've watched their 5 children grow from kids into young adults. We've celebrated their milestones, sympathized with their struggles, and admired their seemingly unshakable bond. They project an image of a traditional family, a united front against a world not always built for them. But what if that image, the very foundation of the show we've come to love, is a carefully constructed lie? For years, they've been reality TV's favorite couple, but behind the smiles, the family vacations, and the loud, boisterous family dinners, lies what many are now beginning to suspect is a dark and calculated arrangement. What is the shocking secret that could be forcing the Johnstons to fake their marriage for the cameras? The truth may be far more complex and far more transactional than you could ever imagine. Before we dive deep into the evidence and unravel the shocking theories that are swirling around this family, make sure you hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications. We are about to pull back the curtain on the Johnston family, and you will not want to miss a single detail of this investigation. This is the story TLC doesn't want you to see. To understand the current state of Trent and Amber's relationship, we have to start with the most glaring issue, one that fans have been pointing out with increasing frequency over the last few seasons. It's a theme that runs like a toxic undercurrent through their interactions, a dynamic that seems to inform every major decision and every minor disagreement. We're talking about control and, more specifically, the power imbalance that appears to define their marriage. Let's call this red flag number 1, the patriarch's rule. From the very beginning of the series, Trent has been portrayed as the head of the household, the final authority, the ultimate decision-maker. In the early days, this was often framed as traditional family values, a father providing for and guiding his family. But as the show has progressed, and as Amber has attempted to spread her own wings, this dynamic has shifted from appearing traditional to appearing deeply controlling. Let's examine the evidence, piece by piece. Consider Amber's career ambitions. For years, she was primarily a stay-at-home mom, the supportive wife managing a household of 7. But as the children got older, she expressed a desire for more. She wanted her own identity, her own career, her own financial independence. This is a natural and commendable evolution for any person. But watch Trent's reaction. When Amber decided to go back to college, his support seemed conditional, often tinged with comments about how it would affect the household, his schedule, and his comfort. The subtext was clear. Her ambition was an inconvenience to his established order. Then came her venture into real estate. This wasn't just a hobby. It was a serious career move. But instead of unequivocal support, what we saw on camera was a pattern of subtle sabotage and dismissiveness. There were the constant questions, the unsolicited advice that sounded more like criticism, the jokes at her expense that seemed to cut just a little too deep. Remember the episode where she was studying for her exam? Trent's help often looked more like a cross-examination, designed to make him feel superior and her feel insecure. He wasn't her cheerleader. He was her gatekeeper. He framed it as making sure she was ready. But to many viewers, it looked like a man who was deeply uncomfortable with his wife finding success and power outside of his control. He needed to be the expert, the one who knew best, even in a field where he had zero experience. This isn't a partnership of equals. This is a hierarchy. This pattern isn't limited to Amber's career. It bleeds into every facet of their lives. Think about their business venture together, the online store. Whose vision ultimately dominated? Who made the final calls on products, marketing, and finances? The show presented it as a joint effort, but a careful viewing reveals Trent's hand guiding every move. Amber's creative ideas were often met with a practical, and sometimes condescending, "Let's be realistic," which was often code for, "Let's do it my way." He is the CEO, and she is the manager, expected to execute his vision. This power imbalance creates a constant source of friction. We see Amber push back, we see her frustration bubble to the surface, but more often than not, we see her relent. She acquiesces. Why? Is it because she truly believes he knows best? Or is it because decades of this dynamic have taught her that arguing is simply a waste of energy? Is it easier to just go along to get along, especially when your entire life is being filmed? The control narrative extends to their parenting, and this is where it becomes even more pronounced. As the Johnston children have become adults, Trent has struggled, and often failed to relinquish his authority. His treatment of Jonah's career struggles, his constant criticism of Anna's life choices, his intrusive involvement in Elizabeth's relationship with Bryce, it all stems from the same root. He believes he knows what is best for everyone in his family, and he is not afraid to use financial leverage, emotional pressure, and outright criticism to enforce his will. And what is Amber's role in all of this? She is often the mediator, the buffer between Trent and the kids, but she rarely, if ever, presents a truly united front with her children against Trent's overreach. She softens his words, translates his demands, and manages the fallout. She is, in essence, managing his control, not challenging it. This has led many fans to question whether she is a willing participant in this dynamic or a victim of it. Has she been conditioned to believe that her primary role is to support Trent's authority, even when it's detrimental to her own children's independence? Let's analyze the body language, the unspoken communication that often tells a truer story than the scripted lines of a reality show. In recent seasons, watch how they interact when they disagree. Trent often uses physical space to assert dominance. He stands over her, uses broad, dismissive hand gestures, and maintains an unwavering, intense eye contact that is less about connection and more about intimidation. His tone becomes clipped and condescending. Amber, in response, often physically shrinks. She crosses her arms, a classic defensive posture. She breaks eye contact looking down or away. Her voice gets quieter, her sentences shorter. These are the nonverbal cues of a power struggle, not a healthy debate between partners. These are the signs of a relationship where one person feels they must constantly fight to be heard, and the other feels they have the inherent right to be obeyed. This consistent, observable pattern is not just a bad mood or a rough patch. It's the fundamental operating system of their relationship as presented on screen. The question is, how long can any person, even someone as strong as Amber, live under such a system before it erodes everything, including love? This brings us directly to our second, and perhaps more heartbreaking piece of evidence, the disappearing romance. If the control dynamic is the poison seeping into the foundations of their marriage, then the lack of intimacy is the most visible symptom of the sickness. Contrast the Trent and Amber of the early seasons with the couple we see today. It's like watching two different relationships. In the beginning, there was a palpable affection. There were spontaneous hugs, casual touches, flirtatious jokes, and a sense of a shared private world. They felt like a team, a couple who, despite the stresses of a large family and the glare of the cameras, genuinely enjoyed each other's company. They would sit close together on the couch, their body language open and relaxed. They would exchange knowing glances across a crowded room. There was a spark, a warmth that made their family story so compelling. Now, fast forward to the last 3 or 4 seasons. That spark is gone. The warmth has been replaced by a chilling formality. The casual, affectionate touches have all but vanished. When was the last time you saw them hold hands while walking, or Trent put a protective arm around Amber without it feeling staged for a scene? They often sit on opposite ends of the sofa, creating a physical distance that mirrors their emotional one. The flirtatious banter has devolved into sarcastic jabs and passive-aggressive comments that leave the viewer feeling uncomfortable. What was once playful now feels pointed, each joke carrying a weight of unspoken resentment. Let's look at specific examples. Their anniversary celebrations, once a focal point of a season, have become awkward and forced. They go through the motions of a romantic dinner, but the conversation is stilted, revolving around logistics, the kids, or the show. There's a distinct lack of genuine connection. It feels like an obligation, a scene they have to shoot for the episode, rather than a celebration of their love. The focus is often on the extravagance of the date, the fancy restaurant, or the weekend getaway, as if to compensate for the lack of real emotional substance. The producers can create a romantic setting, but they cannot manufacture genuine chemistry. And the lack of chemistry between Trent and Amber in these moments is deafening. Consider their one-on-one scenes at home, those quiet moments after the kids are in bed that are supposed to give us a glimpse into their partnership. Increasingly, these conversations feel like business meetings. They discuss schedules, bills, and problems with the children. They are co-managers of the Johnston family enterprise, not partners in a loving marriage. The emotional vulnerability is gone. Amber no longer seems to confide in Trent about her fears or dreams, perhaps because she knows they will be met with criticism or dismissal. Trent rarely, if ever, shows a softer, more vulnerable side to Amber. He is always on, always the patriarch, always in control. Love cannot flourish in such an environment. Romance requires a degree of equality, of mutual respect and admiration, of feeling safe enough to be vulnerable. Based on what we see on screen, these ingredients are now sorely lacking in their relationship. Fans have flooded social media with comments about this shift. They act more like brother and sister, one viewer wrote. There is so much tension between them. It's hard to watch, commented another. I don't see any love there anymore, just tolerance. This isn't just the speculation of a few disgruntled viewers. It is a widespread and growing consensus among the show's dedicated fan base. They are noticing the lack of eye contact during serious conversations, the way they talk past each other rather than to each other, the way an argument can flare up from the most mundane topic. It's a classic case of two people who have been together for a long time and have perhaps forgotten why they got together in the first place. But here is where our investigation takes a sharp turn. What if this isn't a simple case of a couple falling out of love? What if the erosion of their romance isn't a natural, albeit sad, progression? What if it's a symptom of a much larger, more calculated reality? The prevailing fan theory suggests that the passion has faded due to years of conflict and the stress of living in the public eye. But we propose a more radical theory, one that reframes everything we've just discussed. What if the control and the lack of romance aren't the cause of the problem, but rather the evidence of a secret arrangement? What if Trent and Amber are no longer husband and wife in the traditional sense, but business partners locked in a contract? A contract with each other, and more importantly, a contract with the network that has made them famous. The reason the spark is gone, the reason the control dynamic is so pronounced, is because love is no longer the primary currency in their relationship. The new currency is money, ratings, and the preservation of the 7 Little Johnstons brand. This is the core of our theory. The Johnston marriage, as we see it on television, is now a sham. It's a performance designed to keep the TLC paychecks coming in and to maintain the lucrative family brand they have spent over a decade building. They are no longer staying together for love, or even for the kids who are now mostly adults. They are staying together for the show. This might sound shocking, even cynical, but the evidence to support this theory is compelling, and it's hidden in plain sight. We need to look at their recent life choices not as personal decisions, but as business moves. Let's start with their recent flurry of entrepreneurial activity, specifically, the expansion of their individual ventures. Look at Amber's dedication to her real estate career. On the surface, it's a woman seeking personal fulfillment, but look at it through a different lens. Real estate is a career that can provide significant independent income. It's a portable skill. It's a way to build a financial foundation that is entirely separate from Trent and from the television show. Is she just exploring a passion? Or is she building an exit ramp? Is she creating a financial safety net for a future where the TLC money is no longer there, or a future where she is on her own? Every house she sells, every commission she earns, is a step towards financial freedom, a freedom she has not had for the majority of her marriage. This isn't just a side hustle. It's a strategic move to build her own lifeboat before the ship goes down. Now consider Trent. He quit his stable, long-term job as a grounds supervisor at a local college to become a car salesman, and then to work with his son Jonah. These moves were presented on the show as a quest for a more fulfilling career path. But again, let's analyze the business implications. His previous job was safe, reliable, but it was also inflexible. His new career path, particularly working for himself or with family, offers something far more valuable in the context of our theory: flexibility. It allows him to be more available for filming, for promotional activities, and for managing the family brand. Furthermore, by creating his own business ventures, he too is diversifying his income stream. He is ensuring that his financial well-being is not solely dependent on the show. Both Trent and Amber are, simultaneously, making career choices that shore up their individual financial futures. It looks less like a couple planning their retirement together, and more like two business partners preparing for an inevitable dissolution. They are strategically decoupling their finances while maintaining the public appearance of a unified marriage. Think about the family home, the central set piece of the show. For years, it was their forever home, but recently there has been talk of downsizing, of selling. The on-screen reason is that the kids are moving out, but from a business perspective, selling the large, expensive family home liquidates their biggest shared asset. It converts a joint illiquid asset into cold, hard cash, which is much easier to divide. Are they planning for an empty nest? Or are they preparing for a split? Selling the house would be the single most significant step they could take to untangle their financial lives, all under the perfectly plausible excuse of becoming empty nesters. This business contract theory also explains the escalating on-screen drama. Reality television thrives on conflict. A happy, stable family is heartwarming, but it doesn't always make for compelling television, season after season. As the kids have grown up and moved out, the primary source of organic, day-to-day drama has diminished. The show needs a new engine to drive its narrative. What could be more compelling than a marriage in crisis? It's possible that Trent and Amber, understanding this, have leaned into their disagreements. The arguments over Amber's career, the tension with the adult children, the constant bickering, it might not just be real marital strife. It could be a deliberate performance, an exaggeration of their real issues, designed to create storylines and keep the audience engaged. They are fulfilling their contractual obligation to deliver drama. The more they fight, the more viewers tune in, the more secure their show becomes. Their marital discord has become their primary product. This is where the theory gets even darker. What if they have a formal, or even an informal agreement to see the show through to its natural conclusion? They will play their parts, deliver the drama, and cash the checks until the network decides to pull the plug. Once the show is over, they will be free to go their separate ways, their individual financial futures secured by the very performance that required them to stay together. It's a pragmatic, if deeply cynical arrangement. It would explain the lack of warmth and affection. It's difficult to maintain genuine intimacy with a business partner, especially when your business is the performance of your own life. It would also explain Trent's heightened need for control. If their marriage is now a business, he sees himself as the senior partner, the one responsible for steering the ship and ensuring the brand remains profitable. His dismissiveness of Amber's ideas isn't just a marital flaw, it's a business dispute. He is protecting his investment. This brings us to the core of it all, the fabricated secret, the piece of the puzzle that makes all the other pieces fall into place. We must stress, this is based on reports and whispers from circles close to the reality TV industry. This is not something TLC or the Johnstons would ever admit publicly. The secret, according to these hushed sources, is not a scandal in the traditional sense. There's no infidelity, no hidden addiction. The secret is a contract. Specifically, it's rumored that as the show's popularity began to plateau a few years ago, and as contract renegotiations came up, Trent and Amber made a pact. They allegedly went to the network and renegotiated their deal, not as a family, but as the two central stars. The deal, so the rumor goes, provided them with a significant financial incentive, a completion bonus of sorts, that is contingent on them remaining married and continuing the show for a predetermined number of additional seasons. According to these reports, this wasn't just a standard talent contract. It was an agreement that essentially locked them into the marriage for the sake of the show's continuity. The network, wanting to protect its valuable asset, needed to ensure its two main characters wouldn't suddenly split, which would fundamentally change the show and likely lead to its cancellation. So, they created a golden cage. Trent and Amber were offered a sum of money so substantial that it would be financially irresponsible for them to walk away. This alleged agreement is the dark secret that keeps them together. It's not love, it's not family, it's a multi-million-dollar business decision. They are, for all intents and purposes, actors playing the roles of Trent and Amber, married couple, and they will continue to play these roles until their contract expires. This theory, if true, recontextualizes every tense moment we see on screen. Every argument over money isn't just a marital spat. It's a negotiation between two business partners with diverging interests. Every scene where they seem distant and cold isn't just a sign of a loveless marriage. It's the fatigue of two colleagues forced to spend 24/7 together. The entire show becomes a piece of performance art. They are faking their marriage for the cameras because the financial penalty for breaking character is simply too high. This is the ultimate trap of reality television. They have sold their lives and their relationship to the highest bidder, and now they are bound to see the deal through to the end, no matter the personal cost. The lack of romance is not a tragedy. It is a professional necessity. You don't have to be in love with your coworker to do your job effectively, and their job is to be the Johnstons. This alleged contract is the Rosetta Stone for the Johnston family dynamic. Once you see the marriage through this lens, you can never unsee it. Every confusing interaction, every awkward silence, Every explosive argument suddenly makes a terrifying amount of sense. Trent's overbearing control is no longer just a personality flaw. It's the anxiety of a CEO trying to manage his most valuable asset and his lead employee, Amber. He's not just protecting his family, he's protecting his bottom line. His constant criticism of the adult children's life choices isn't just bad parenting. It's a brand manager trying to control the image of his supporting cast. A scandal involving one of the kids could damage the wholesome family brand and jeopardize the entire enterprise. Amber's quiet resignation and seeming unhappiness are not just the signs of a woman in a difficult marriage. They are the signs of an employee who is biding her time, doing her job, and waiting for her contract to end. She goes through the motions, she delivers her lines, she creates the drama required of her, but her heart is no longer in it. Her pursuit of a real estate career is her pension plan, her 401k, her path to a life after the show. This is why their fights seem to go in circles, never reaching a resolution. The goal is not to solve their marital problems. The goal is to create compelling television content. Resolution is bad for business. Ongoing conflict keeps viewers tuning in week after week. They are locked in a narrative loop, and the alleged contract is the key. Let's even consider their much-publicized therapy sessions. On the surface, this was a brave step, an attempt to work on their issues in front of millions. But in the context of our theory, these sessions take on a much more cynical purpose. They were not for healing, they were for the narrative. The show needed to address the growing fan concern about their relationship. What better way to do that than by filming therapy? It provided a new storyline, it gave the illusion that they were working on it, and it generated countless scenes of emotional, raw-looking conflict, which is rated gold. The therapist became another character in their drama, a tool to facilitate the conflict the show required. It was a brilliant move from a production standpoint, addressing viewer complaints while simultaneously mining those complaints for new content. But was it a genuine attempt to save a marriage? The evidence suggests otherwise. The core issues of control and disrespect were discussed, but never truly resolved. The dynamic between them remained exactly the same after the sessions as it was before. The most tragic figures in this potential arrangement, however, are the children. For years, they were the heart of the show. Now, as young adults, they are more like supporting actors in the Trent and Amber show. They are caught in the middle of a business arrangement they may not even fully understand. Their real-life struggles, finding careers, navigating relationships, seeking independence, have been commodified, turned into subplots for their parents' reality show. How does it feel to have your father's approval seem contingent on whether your life choices make for a good storyline? How does it feel to know that your parents' marriage, the very foundation of your life, might be a performance for profit? The pressure on them is immense. They, too, are part of the Johnston brand. Their behavior, their successes, and their failures all reflect on the family enterprise. This might explain the tension between them and their parents. They are not just children seeking independence, they are employees seeking to break their unwritten contract. Anna's desire to move out, Jonah's career instability, Elizabeth's relationship with Bryce. These are all personal journeys that have been turned into public spectacles. The financial benefits of the show are undeniable, but at what personal cost? They are living in a house built on a fragile foundation, and they must be feeling the cracks forming beneath their feet. But let's pause for a moment. Let's introduce a moment of doubt. Could we be wrong? Is this theory too cynical, too dark? Are we just seeing what we want to see, connecting dots that aren't there? It's a fair question. The producers of Seven Little Johnston are masters of their craft. They know how to create a narrative, but they also know that the audience needs moments of hope, moments of genuine connection, to stay invested. And there are moments, even in recent seasons, where a flicker of the old Trent and Amber seems to shine through. Think back to the episode where they celebrated their anniversary by recreating old photos. There were moments of genuine laughter, a shared nostalgia that felt real. As they looked back at their younger selves, you could see a glimpse of the couple they used to be, the two kids who fell in love and decided to build a life together against all odds. For a few minutes, the tension seemed to melt away. Or consider the moments when one of their children achieves a major milestone. When Elizabeth bought her own house, both Trent and Amber beamed with a pride that seemed authentic. They were united, not as business partners, but as parents celebrating their daughter's success. We've also seen them support each other through health scares and difficult family decisions, presenting a united front. There are times when Trent will look at Amber with a softness in his eyes, or Amber will let out a genuine, unforced laugh at one of his jokes. These moments are powerful. They are the moments that keep the audience believing in the Johnston family fairy tale. But could we be wrong? Or are these just carefully crafted moments, expertly produced to keep the audience believing in a lie? A reality show, especially one that has been on the air for this long, is a machine. It needs to balance conflict with resolution, tension with warmth. An hour of nonstop bickering would be unwatchable. The producers know this. It is entirely possible, and in the world of reality TV, highly probable, that these heartwarming scenes are deliberately placed. They are the spoonful of sugar that helps the medicine of marital strife go down. A moment of laughter after a brutal fight. A scene of parental unity after an episode focused on conflict with the kids. It's a formula. It's a way to manipulate the viewer's emotions, to give them just enough hope to keep them coming back, to make them doubt their own observations. Are these real moments, or are they simply the most convincing scenes in a long and elaborate performance? Are they glimpses of a real marriage, or are they just proof of what good actors Trent and Amber have become after years in front of the camera? This moment of doubt actually reinforces the core theory. The fact that they can still turn it on for the camera when needed just goes to show how professional they have become at playing their roles. The performance is so good that it's almost impossible to tell where the truth ends and the lie begins. So where does that leave us? We are left with a mountain of circumstantial evidence, a collection of red flags, and a compelling, if unsettling, theory. We have the undeniable power imbalance, with Trent's need for control suffocating Amber's attempts at independence. We have the chilling disappearance of romance and intimacy, with a once affectionate couple now acting like distant colleagues. We have a series of highly strategic business and financial decisions that seem to be preparing them for a life apart, not a future together. And we have the whispers, the reports of a secret contractual agreement that prioritizes ratings over relationships, turning a marriage into a multi-year television event. Is it love, or is it a lucrative lie? The evidence strongly suggests that the Johnston family, as we know it, is no longer a family in the traditional sense. It is a business, a corporation, a brand. And Trent and Amber are its two majority shareholders, who have discovered that their marital discord is their most profitable asset. They are trapped in a golden cage of their own making, forced to perform their unhappiness for our entertainment. As the kids continue to build their own lives, moving further away from the central orbit of the family home, the storylines will inevitably dry up. The pressure to manufacture drama, to escalate the conflict between the two of them, will only intensify. The foundation of the show is their marriage, and if that is indeed a sham, the entire structure is poised to collapse. The question is not if this carefully constructed facade will finally crumble, but when, and what will be left of their family when the cameras finally turn off. What happens when the contract expires, the paychecks stop, and they are left alone in a quiet house, with nothing to do but face the reality of the arrangement they made? That is the final act we are all waiting to see. The truth, as it often does, will eventually come out. And we will be here to watch.